Good morning and welcome to the new episode of Dr. Lamba's Awakening Call. Recently, a political earthquake took place. Most of the people abroad haven't taken notice of it. But Indian political system did receive shocks. And they were natural consequence of the action. What had actually happened was that there was a briefing, a special congressional briefing, and that was to be addressed online. It was a briefing on protecting India's pluralistic constitution. And now who organized this briefing? Not the government of India, not the government of USA, not of any political party, major political parties. It was organized by the Indian American Muslim Council, IAM. Now this is a pressure group of ultra-fanatic Muslims. And the beauty is that in this briefing, the major participant was a person who held the highest office, second highest office in India for 10 years, full 1 decade. And possibly he's the only person who has, Radhakrishnan was the other one of course, who was vice president for 2 terms continuously. And having held that office, the presidents and the vice presidents in India are, as a convention, supposed to retire from the public life. Supposed to. They, being the constitutional heads, do not participate in political jamborees. But here was this former president who violated all conventions. Of course, you are not bound by the conventions. You can always violate them. Now here's a comment by Mr. Singh Jaspal of Mississauga. He says, is there something basically wrong with him? Of course there is. He is bitten by a bug of populism, by the bug of pseudo-secularism, by the bug of being taken as a person who has some authority and impact and influence on the population, which he doesn't have. As a matter of fact, he was never in political field. He was an ambassador who was catapulted into the position of vice president simply because of being a Muslim. And that Muslim card he has continued to play, whether as an ambassador, whether as a vice president, and now as a retired person who is supposed to be apolitical, neither for any party nor against any party. And that has been a tradition. None of the presidents, after leaving the office of the vice president, spoke for or against any political party. But here it is. And the main statements he made are absolutely horrible. He said, India is being taken over by a new and imaginary practice of cultural nationalism. Fine. As opposed to the well-established principle of civic nationalism, which seeks to present electoral majority in the guise of religious majority and monopolize political power. Now, he forgets that in any democratic country, any political party can come into power. It can be conservative, it can be progressive, it can be fascist. There's no law against that, at least not in India. Tomorrow, if somebody was to make a fascist party in India, there would be no ban on that. And it is usually the practice of the Indian political parties to brand BJP as a fascist party. As a matter of fact, there was a time when the Communist Party of India used to brand Subhash Chandra Bose as a fascist leader, which he never was, but simply because he had met Hitler and Mussolini and taken the help of Japanese to set up Indian National Army. So the Britishers and their mouthpiece, the Communist Party of India, branded him as a fascist. Now, there are three things in this. He says imaginary practice of cultural nationalism. That means anybody who talks of the Indian heritage, which is a culture, is talking in an imaginary situation which doesn't have any base in reality. New. He forgets that this is not new. Way back, even before he came into prominence, A.L. Basham, not an Indian, wrote a great book, The Wonder That Was It. Even before that, Max Muller had talked of the cultural nationalism. Vivekananda had talked of cultural nationalism. So much so that in the interest of, because cultural nationalism represents the mainstream traditions, the values of any country. And then he says, well-established principle of civic nationalism. Now, this gentleman has been an ambassador. Civic nationalism has no well-established principle. If civic nationalism was a well-established principle, then Nazism and fascism should be accepted. Then the concept of globalization goes out of the window. So on the one side there is Comintern, Communist International, which was promoted by Stalin and Trotsky and Lenin. Then there was nationalism promoted by Tojo in Japan, Hitler. Even in USA, America first. That's civic nationalism. And it was criticized. So it's not a well-established principle. So in one statement that he made, there were three absolutely incomprehensible ideas that do not represent any sense. As a matter of fact, they show that he is a Rip Van Winkle, suddenly woken from his sleep, maybe coma. Why? To get some popularity. And then he says, it seeks to present electoral majority in the guise of religious majority. Now, whether it's electoral majority or guise, does he forget that in India, every political party is based on either religion or cult or caste. Samajwadi Party is for Yadavs. Bhujan Samaj Party is for the Dalits. Now the farmers have made their own political party. It's another thing that has not been recognized, but it's there. So, the very fact that the electoral system permits that, Akali Dal is purely of the Sikhs. So if the political system, the constitution permits it, how does it say that it is violating the India's pluralist constitution? Because it's permitted by the constitution. So again, a misrepresentation. So the basic theme of the briefing was wrong, and in one sentence he made three horrible errors. And this gentleman happened to be an ambassador of India. Does he know anything about India? The question that I would ask Mr. Hamid Ansari is whether, having been an occupant of the country's second highest office, ceremonially higher than the Prime Minister's, Ansari should have participated in a program organized by an outfit that has pronounced ideological angularity? Has he not violated the oath of the office that he took to protect the Constitution? Is he not, in fact, insulting India abroad? If it was really something which was hurting, then they are constitutional pundits. They could have spoken on this, and till today, none of the constitutional pundits has come up with this ridiculous statements. The whole thing smacks of communalism. The whole thing smacks of partisanship. And it's an attempt to belittle, demean, defame, and ridicule India. And then it shows another thing. It shows basically a slavish colonial mentality, the footlickers mentality. Since when is the Congress panel supreme above the Parliament of India, above the office of the President and the Prime Minister of India? And he goes there, of course online, supplicating their help, beseeching them. This reminds me typically of the Mir Jafars and Mir Qasims, of Jatans, the traitors to the country, who beseeched the outsiders to destroy the country. This reminds me of the people who, to defeat their local enemies, would invite the foreigners to invade India. And they were the people instrumental in making India slaves. And Hamid Ansari is no better. Now the tragedy is that this should have been condemned, censored, but no political party has done so. The leftist parties are quiet because of their aversion to Modi. The so-called secular, which are not secular really, they say they are secular, but they'll seek the help of temples and churches to get votes. And their religion changes according to the place. They might be Christians in Kerala and they might be staunch Hindus in UP. They might be wearing cross and tilk at the same time. So they are not really secular. They are basically frauds. But nevertheless, the fact that nobody, and Government of India showed restraint. Government of India showed restraint by not condemning it, except the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, External Affairs did condemn it. They said that he is out of touch with reality, which he is. But is it just being out of touch, or is it being traitor? Is it not an act of treason? Especially for a person who has occupied the second highest position for a decade. And if he hates India that much, why did he remain an ambassador and then the vice president? And what is following? Normally in such a situation, such statement coming from such a high office holder would have created ripples. The whole statement has been ignored with the contempt it deserves by everybody, both in USA and in India. Of course, in USA, the interested parties are going to seize on this and quote him verbatim, whether it's Bloomberg or whether it's New York Times, they would quote it because that suits their purpose. But as far as the government is concerned, they have just ignored it with the contempt it deserves and possibly is gracing the waste paper basket. My concern is, should India have kept quiet? Now, if the Supreme Court, which deems itself to be the custodian of the law and order, and probity and good sense, should have taken cognizance and asked for him to prove it in a court of law. The government of India could have ignored him, which it has, but it could also have prosecuted him. The best thing would have been for a non-governmental organization to prosecute him for defaming, demeaning, insulting India, for trying to bring India as a matter of foreign invasion, and then an act of treason for inviting the attention of a foreign power to meddle in India's internal affairs. This act should have been done by any NGO in India. We should have gone to court of law. At the court of law, the justice should have issued warrant for his arrest and prosecuted him. At least the people would have seen how hollow the claims of these people are, just using jargon, cultural majority, religious minority, and things like that, and the plurality of constitution. The constitution is not really secular, as I mentioned last time. The original constitution, the word secular was not included. It was included only by Mrs. Gandhi in an amendment, 24th Amendment. But that doesn't mean it's still there. But that does not mean that I'll give you a license to condemn, demean the country of which you have been the holder of the second highest office. The whole thing smacks of two things. A desire to garner popular support, to defame the country. 3, to come back to power by hook or by crook. And that effort is mostly crookish, undesirable, unacceptable. And the sooner some deterrent action is taken, not because he has done something wrong, but so that others may not do something wrong. I remember a British guy saying, I hang a person not because he has committed a murder, but so that others may not commit a murder. And that should be the guiding principle. But would the government of India be brave enough, or NGO be brave enough to take such an action? Because that will bring a lot of criticism. All those busybodies in India and abroad will start condemning it. But that should be no reason whatsoever for not taking action. And if we don't take action, we by default are permitting such stupidities and anti-national activities to continue. And the sooner we put an end to it, the better it will be. Thank you.